Welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. Today we have you covered with another daily drop. Once again, I am Bryant here with publisher Andrew Jones. We're going to have a little fun today, make some things up. And this subject of the daily drop is UNC football, specifically home and home opponents. We've seen UNC set some up in the past, be California or Minnesota, or even App State. We want to have some fun with it, some potential opponents for UNC. I'm not sure your powerhouses and your Alabamas and Georgias where UNC, of course, would be a fun atmosphere to go to and to welcome them to Chapel Hill. But some fun ones that would be a little under the radar or some mutually beneficial between the two parties. And we'll go through the conferences. But first, AJ, let's start with, let's just say the SEC. What school do you think would be a good one for UNC to play at home and home against?
Well, before replying directly, I'm going to go long-winded on, so I have to start the long-winded response now by saying they credit North Carolina for scheduling a lot of home and homes throughout the years. They had Indiana, they had Wisconsin, they had Syracuse a couple times before they joined the league. They had Louisville. In fact, the last time they played at Louisville was before Louisville was in the ACC. In fact, they'll go 18 years of Louisville being in the league before Carolina actually plays them at Louisville in football, which is insane. Carolina had Arizona State in a home and home. They've had some good home and homes.
They even went to South Carolina at one point.
Yeah, South Carolina. Even back when UConn was good, they got one coming up with Purdue. They had one with Colorado that was canceled. They had some stuff going on with Michigan that didn't work out. So there's some the TCU. That game should be in Fort Worth. It doesn't need to be the gimmick game in Ireland. I'm not a big fan of that. So there are games that have been played and not too long ago that we'll have to just kind of rule out on this. They had Rutgers a couple of times. That's not very appealing. Although I actually enjoyed the game up at Rutgers. That stadium is pretty nice. So the SEC. Now I'm going to look at this two ways. I still think it'd be kind of cool if they played a home and home with Kentucky, just because the whole basketball thing make it kind of neat. But it wouldn't do anything to move the needle. Kentucky football is not going to move the needle. Even when Kentucky's good, they're not really embraced. So I'm going to go Arkansas. I think Arkansas would be cool because if you think about it, maybe it's just dudes my age. Arkansas sounds better than Kentucky. Yeah. Sounds like a better opponent. Historically, when I first started following college football, Lou Holtz was at Arkansas. One of Carolina's best bowl wins ever was the Fog Bowl and the Gator Bowl against Arkansas when they had Ethan Horton and Kelvin Bryant and those guys. And Arkansas, that was that period where Dick Crum beat Michigan, Texas in Texas, Arkansas, and Texas again in Texas, and Blue Bonnet Bowl 1 year in Houston, and then in El Paso, 4 straight bowl games. That really put Carolina squarely on the map nationally. So Arkansas, to me, would be cool. It'd be cool to go to Fayetteville, play the game there. It'd be cool to have them come in, all their crazy fans with their pig Sue wooey stuff. I know what it is. I'm playing with you there. I think that would be the cool home and home. It sounds better than some of the other ones. It's not that dangerous. Like Missouri's got a better program right now, but Arkansas sounds like more of a football school.
Yeah,
it sounds more Southern. If you're going to play the SEC, you got to Southern that thing up. So I say Arkansas in the SEC.
For me, that one's a tough one because quite frankly, there's just some really elite programs in the SEC. Of course, UNC wants to play Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss. But one, if we're going to go.
Ole Miss would be good. I want to go to the Grove. I hear the Grove's nice. I wonder why. Anyway.
Would be a great one. I'm going to go with one. This team was not good this year. But again, we're talking it's beneficial for both parties. I would not mind UNC going to play at Mississippi State. That was a really good program under Mike Leach. The cowbells everywhere would have been a whole lot of fun to just be in that atmosphere. And again, it doesn't have the ring that Arkansas does to it, but I do think that it will be a really fun place for UNC to play. And it's not we're not giving a cop-out answer against an easy team or environment that fans would want to visit and would want UNC to play in.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of this. It's easy to say the Georgias of the world. We're kind of doing middle-of-the-road stuff that would be fun. NC State played home and home with Mississippi State, and they spent all week those cowbells, man. And, that'd be all right. Although I hear Starkville's not a very nice place.
Stark Vegas, yeah.
Stark Vegas, yeah. I actually, a very good friend of mine, a girl I grew up with, She went to Virginia Tech, married a guy who was in the vet school there, went to the master's program in the veterinary school at Mississippi State. They got married right at the end of college. She moved to Starkville with him and left him because she couldn't handle Starkville. I'm dead serious.
Oh.
I'm dead serious. That's wild stuff. So I've never actually been to Starkville. It's one of the few schools I haven't been to. I think Ole Miss would be great because
that would have been probably my first choice.
Ole Miss is kind of buttoned up like Carolina in a lot of ways. I think that would be an interesting tailgate. The Carolina folk and the Ole Miss folk. I think that'd be kind of there'd be a lot of interesting tailgate food, a lot of wheatberry salad probably and something like that, and frickin' wine. Wine in the plastic wine glasses, not a real one. They hold them like this and stuff. For
all those fans out there, it reminds you of the White Lotus from this season. For those of you who watched it, you understand what I'm saying. If you know, you know. Next conference, I'm curious of your answer to this one because there's two that I want to go with in the Big Ten. You probably will cover one of them, but there are two that I would choose, and I'll probably default to if you say one, I'll just go with the other. But let me know what. Okay, so they also played home and home with Illinois, and I've covered the game there in Illinois, which was cool because you get off the elevator in the press box, the media elevator, and there's a dude dressed up like Red Grange in the uniform and everything greet you. That was cool. I also was outside the stadium when the Carolina bus pulled in, and they have a massive tailgate there, and the Carolina bus that was Lovie Smith's first year. He left the Bears. It was his second. It was their second game. The second game of the season. Carolina had Trubisky. They just lost to Georgia the week before, but they're ranked. They're highly touted. They're coming off the 11-win year the year before. They were a pretty big deal. It was Illinois' first sellout in a long time at home. That wasn't like Michigan or Ohio State. And Carolina's buses rolled in, and I remember the Switzer was talking about how he sea of people out there. I mean, looking out the window of the bus, and people was a big deal to see see Carolina's bus come in. So it can't be Illinois, it can't be Indiana. They've done that. Can't be Minnesota. They've done that. One of my best friends. They've done Wisconsin. One of my best friends in life is a Penn State grad, and I've been to a game in Happy Valley. It was a long time ago, and I think Carolina, the uniforms, Penn State's home uniforms with Carolina's road, especially if they wore the light blue pants, would be a really, really cool game on that grass. I would like to see Penn State. I know that's a higher up. It's not a mid-level one, but there was some talk a while ago. If you remember there were games at FedEx Stadium where the Redskins or the Commanders Redskins played, and there were Monday nights for a while. Virginia Tech played Boise in a game there one year. There was some talk about Carolina and Penn State doing something. It never materialized. So I'm going to say Penn State because I just think that would be cool. But if we're going more middle of the road, I'm going to go back to Iowa. Yeah.
I want to go to Niall Kinnick Stadium. Niall Kinnick's story is a great story. If you don't know it, look it up. And I want to see the end of the third quarter when everybody waves up to the students in the hospital. That was one of my answers and my exact reasoning as well. And so my other one, again, this is a program that has been great at times, but traditionally speaking, for at least the past 10 years or so, would be a middle of the road in Nebraska. Like I know that's another, seems like a softball, an easy answer, but that environment for UNC to go in with all those fans, because no matter if Nebraska could be 11-1 or 1-11, and those fans are going to show up every single week, and they're going to bring a great atmosphere in a place that just loves college football. And UNC has been in some big environments, but I think it's just different than some others. It's unique. And I like to see UNC. You play either Nebraska or Iowa. And I do think the Penn State choice was a good one as well, because that's one. UNC wouldn't get the whiteout, but if for some reason UNC got a whiteout in Happy Valley, that would be one of the coolest atmospheres you get to see in all of sports. I saw Penn State play East Carolina a long time ago, and it was pretty cool. That was a Penn State team that was one of the top teams in the country. The Nebraska thing, if you and I ran a Nebraska site, if we covered Nebraska, we would do a daily drop. When will Nebraska finally not have a sellout? So if it doesn't work with Matt Rule, maybe the fans start to drop off some because it's been a while. Okay, what's the next league?
We have the Big 12, and we mentioned before the old Pac-12. So we have those two
Let's
left.
do Big 12 since it's a real league. The other one's a fake league now, faux league. It's two-team Big 12 with no money. The Big 12, you said Baylor for basketball. I want Baylor for football. That's supposed to be an awesome stadium, the new stadium there. It just seems like it'd be really cool to play at Baylor. I would have gone TCU, but that's not – I guess I could say TCU. I did ask Bubba Cunningham in the press conference when we had the Ireland game press conference. I asked him, I said, are you going to add a third game to go to Fort Worth to honor that commitment? No, they sold their home game to Ireland, which stinks because I've been inside TCU Stadium. It's really cool. I'd love to see a game there. But Baylor would be really cool. There's some really neat ones there. I think Arizona would be kind of neat. Bear down, a night game at Arizona. A Saturday night, 10 p.m. game out east and 7 o'clock or whatever it is out there, and bear down. And it was 92 during the day, but it's now chilled down to 80. I think that'd be kind of cool early in the year.
Yeah.
But hold on. But that's new for Big 12. I got to get off that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I cheated. So now you know my answer to the other one, I guess. Okay, it's easy. Colorado's a low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, that was when I was like,
and it would have been great before Dion because of the stadium. And for all of us really old guys that remember the show Mork and Mindy, the opening theme, there's a bunch of scenes are shot in Colorado Stadium. How about that? You're like, what the hell is this old guy saying? Yeah, there you
go. This one is
Brian's like, God, I need like an insight, like some kind of history. What would you need a time capsule or something to understand my life? Nanu, baby. You don't even know what the hell I'm saying.
I do not. Again, I'm gonna go with a program. So they've been good, and they are traditionally good. They've been mediocre also in the past couple of years at times. I'm going to Oklahoma State. I think that would be a cool place to go watch a football game. They have a really good fan base. I mean, they've had some really good teams in play for some Big 12 titles. I was considering Iowa State, but I'll go Iowa State or Oklahoma State. Those would be two fun ones that I think would be a good place to go watch a football game. Or I'm also a little impartial because I did enjoy the city a couple months ago. Home with Kansas in football. You did it in basketball. Why not run it back in football?
Yeah, especially now they're going to get a new stadium because the one they had before was an atrocity. It was awful. So
and yeah, they were I think redoing it whenever.
There has to be a guarantee if you go to Stillwater. Gundy has to be the coach. And he's got to have the Gundy mullet, the Gundit, or whatever you want to call it. And of course, the home that T. Boone Pickens built with all that damn money. I think that'd be cool too. There are a lot of cool places out there. Kind of hard to get to, but really cool places. All right, what would be next? Oh, you're going to ask about Pac-12. I said Arizona, but I was thinking Arizona as far as being in the Big 12. I'm going to go different. Now, last year when I was in LA for the Sweet 16, the next day when Carolina lost, I got into the Coliseum, LA Coliseum, where USC plays, because USC's women's lacrosse team, I think it was playing Cal. So I walked right in, sat down, watched for a while, and later that day I drove up to the Rose Bowl and walked around in the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl's unbelievably beautiful. So I would want to see Carolina play either one of those two places. Mm-hmm. Probably for history, more things have happened at the Coliseum, and USC's had better programs than UCLA. Nothing beats the backdrop, or very few things beat the backdrop of the Rose Bowl. So I would probably go Coliseum just because of the history. And I used to be a diehard LA Rams fan back in the day when they played in the Coliseum, and even for a while when they moved to Anaheim. But when they played in the Coliseum, and that was their place. So I would say in the Coliseum against USC.
I think the Rose Bowl would be one of my choices. The atmosphere now is not great, but the stadium itself would be a really cool place to see a football game. But I'm going to leave those two alone because you kind of covered them. I'm going to go with two, and one's going to be obvious. I know this is a really good program, but Oregon would be really, really cool just to see a game there.
Yeah.
But then I'm going to go with Washington up in Seattle. I'm already said them before in basketball. Why not go play Washington and Seattle? Be a really cool atmosphere. Again, they're not the cream of the crop in terms of their conference, but I think it'd be a really cool, beneficial home and home.
They were the national title game a year and a half ago.
Yeah, they made the college football playoff, and UNC hasn't. So maybe I'm.
There's been a couple of college football playoffs, right?
At least one. Probably two.
Yeah, I think they've been in two, right? They were in several years ago and lost. I think Florida State beat them or something like that. Florida, I can't.
I think
crashing now. Someone's going to come in and correct me, which is fine, but I'm pretty sure they were in two. I could be wrong.
You may be right. I know at least one for certain, and they got blown out by either Alabama or Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken.
The stadium is built right on the water. Yeah. Apparently, they say it's one of the most picturesque outside. It doesn't look very nice, the stadium itself with the giant awning, but they got to have that because it rains so much. All right, so we've done the powers. Let's go Mountain West. That's a good league. Mountain West for me is Air Force.
That was going to say.
Got to be Air Force. It's got to be Air Force, and it's got to be Air Force before mid-October. Otherwise, I have no desire to be there because it'd be too damn cold.
I think you know where I'm going to go with this one. I want to see UNC play on that blue field in Boise.
Smurf turf.
Just why not? Either there or Wyoming. Just for Wyoming. Just that one of those two. Wyoming it'd be freezing, but that would be a really cool place to see a football game. And also, let UNC play at Boise on the Smurf turf. That would be really fun.
You know what would be an underrated game is at Fresno State. When they were good back in the day, that was a rowdy place. They were pretty good.
Fresno's not a bad place to go visit either.
Yeah, I've never been to Fresno. I've always wanted to go. My wife and I were going to do a trip. We flew into Denver and we drove around Montana and Wyoming and stuff. And of course, I had Laramie on there because you got to go see the stadium. I mean, I'm a guy that went out of his way to go see Gardner-Webb Stadium. You know what I mean? I'm a guy that does that. I love going to see stadiums and stuff. And I would love. Virginia played at Wyoming. I talked to some Virginia writers that went to that game. They said it was unbelievable. And they were treated like royalty when they were there. But Air Force, though, there's so much there, so much going on, that what it would represent, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be a really cool one.
And if we go outside those leagues and just pick around, obviously a game at Army. Carolina played at Army back in the 90s. They played a game there. But I'm going to go a pretty obscure one. I went Montana in basketball. I'm going to go Toledo. I want them to play in the Glass Bowl in Toledo, Ohio. That would be pretty cool. Play a home and home with them.
That would be a cool one. So we're strictly sticking. This is getting a little, I guess, straying away. Strictly FBS.
Yeah.
I was going to go North Dakota
State. FCS. We'll choose an FCS one too, just for fun.
I could go. Eastern Michigan has an interesting. I'm a big field guy. I love different colored fields, and that gray field at Eastern Michigan. The opponent itself is probably not the most beneficial, but I love a good different colored field, and I'm probably going to be like, what in the world? But on those same lines, I would love for UNC to do a home and home with Coastal.
Another colored field.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Just the interstate, I guess rivalry, whatever you want to call it. But just again, see those two fan bases, and we go to Myrtle Beach. So,
I guess. So your FCS choice would be Eastern Washington.
No, actually, it would be probably North Dakota State. Although you would think it would be the Redfield.
So my wife went with me on the Minnesota trip last year, and we got there day or so early, 2 days early. And we drove the first night we landed in Minneapolis, and we went to Fargo. And the next day we went up walked in there, the ticket office, and one of the women working in the athletic department gave us a full tour of the Fargo Dome. And it was really cool. We got to see everything was set up for a football game. They had a home game coming up like that weekend or something like that, and it was great. We got to go to the office, see all that kind of stuff, and I actually got the tour for basketball as well, which was really neat. So that's a pretty cool place. I'd be very loud. Taylor Zarzer has covered some games there, called some games for ESPN, says it's one of the loudest places ever been. So you got your FCS. I'm going to go for my other any other FBS. I'm going to go FCS on this one. I still think there's two. We were talking about Wyoming, Montana, the backdrop, the stadium's great. They get 25, 30,000 every game, but Harvard, I was, when I went out to BC several years ago, I went and did a whole Harvard thing. And then the stadium's actually on the other side of the river. And I walked across the bridge and you could see where all the crew stuff is there, the rowing stuff. And I went into the basketball arena, which is like a high school gym. It's kind of neat because you got the Harvard logo, but the football stadium, it's historic. To see them run on the field and something like that, that'd be pretty cool.
I think, yeah, I agree. That would be a really good one.
So you're not going to do Eastern Washington? Oh, you did North Dakota State.
Yeah, North Dakota State. Yeah, I mean,
any others?
Eastern Washington, I guess. No, I can't. There's one that I'm missing that I'm going to be kicking myself for this.
You know, I think at Idaho at the Kibbe Dome.
That would be a really cool one.
They played Idaho in Larry Fedora's first year at home. When Idaho was still FBS. And I've been inside the Kibbe Dome too, by the way. When Carolina played at Gonzaga in basketball, they were Gonzaga on a Wednesday, UCLA in Vegas on a Saturday. That Thursday, I rented a car and drove down to Moscow, Idaho, which is where the university is. I walked right into the Kibbe Dome. And the basketball was set up. Now they now have their own basketball arena. And then it's 8 miles from Washington State. So I drove over and stood right next to the Washington State Stadium, which is very nice, but small. Mm-hmm. So I've been in the Kibbe Dome too. I've been in the Idaho and North Dakota's football domes, which is pretty cool.
Two of the cool,
North Dakota's was nicer. North Dakota State.
FCS ones. So I mean, there's got to be one I'm missing out there. Anybody out there? Well, first off,
they were to go to I think it'd be fun to see them roll into JMU. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I'm not sure UNC would agree to that right now.
No, I don't think they have any desire to go play that game. Anyway, we're good on this. We exhausted this as much as we could.
Let us know what you think, where you would like UNC to go play or have a home and home series. Who do we miss? Who do you think? Who do we get right? And also, if there's any that are out there that you think would be really good, let us know. We want to hear from you guys. So drop a comment, give some feedback. We cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say. But for now, I'm Bryant. He's AJ. And we will see you guys next time.
Thanks.